So I'm just on my way to Victoria's first ever Truth and Reconciliation Day bike ride. And behind me you can see some other people probably on their way to the same place. It's kind of cool, everyone's in these orange shirts. It's like we're all revealing our superpowers here. Lots of kids and families and all manner of cool bicycles that carry small children. I wish those were around when my kids were younger. Anyway, I'm gonna sort of give some updates along the way about the adventure today and what I'm learning, and hopefully that'll make an interesting video. Catch you up soon. As a teacher, I feel like I have the unique opportunity to influence young people and maybe even older people and bring information to them, and I think with our channel Between the Lines and our eventual plans for our big world trip that we're going to do, I'm hoping along the way to enlighten and maybe inspire with some of the things I see. And so I just thought, this being the first ever Truth and Reconciliation ride, it would be fun to participate.
And finally, a really, really big thanks will go out to Diane Sam. Diane Sam is a member of the Songhees First Nation. She is the woman who will be talking to us when we get to the And for many, many, many people in First Nations, it's been an extremely difficult day. It's been an extremely difficult lead-up. And so I want to thank her for her bravery and strength for being here for us today, for her to give her knowledge and her experience to help us understand better what they're going through. So big thanks to her. Reconciliation is about everyone. It's not just about one group of people. When one group is allowed to control other groups of people, there is something seriously wrong with that group. In the days of the grandmothers, all people walked together and gathered food and medicine together. The grandfathers said, in these circles, there is room for everyone. The people who lived here for thousands of years also followed that creed to reconciliation. But reconciliation should never be celebrated like a birthday or a stat holiday, where it is just celebrated once a year. It should be like a river, always creating change, creating nourishment for change, always. Thanks, Eddie. So thank you, everybody, for being here on this very meaningful ride. It's one of the best things I think we've ever done as an organization, and I again, from the bottom of my heart, thank you all for being here. It is huge.
Can you hear me? Hello, everyone. Wow, thank you for coming today. This is really powerful to see so many people here supporting this. I'm speaking as loud as I can. This is so powerful to see so many people here today supporting reconciliation. So thank you for coming out. My name is Sarah. My name is Sarah Fermento. I'm the event coordinator for Capital Bike, and we're just so proud of everyone who came out today and honored.
Asim the Stelicha, Hashkogan's on the teacher the Kongan Tanab. So I like done this night, she's a lesson the Kongan E house it. Aikonas Konanga Hela. Thana Mainla, Frank Sam. Thana Tain, Helena Sam. Good morning, everybody. It's good to see you. My Indian name is Sawilak, and I'm from Songhees and Ahousit. My late dad is Frank Sam, and my mom is Helena Sam. Oh my goodness. All of these allies. This would be exactly why I love Victoria, and just appreciating all of the orange shirts today. So I'm really sorry. I was not expecting this many. Otherwise, I would have brought more gifts with me. The Songhees book that I've gifted out has been written by my community and my family, because all too often the history that we have has been written by outsiders from outside of the community. And it was also written in celebration of our Songhees Wellness Center, which is at 1100 Admirals Road, and if you haven't seen it, please take time to go by there. It was a $30 million project within community. We wanted a place for our education, our health, our community, and just a place to call our own. That's a feather in the cap of our community. This morning I woke up thinking of my grandparents, my parents, my aunts, and my uncles, and they're the reason I'm here today, for all of the things that they went through. And in my heart, I really truly believe that the Indian Residential School wanted to do away with my whole family, but I'm still here. I'm learning my language, and I'm wanting to turn that over to my children and my granddaughter. And I had a moment yesterday, or the day before, where my job at UVic, I'm the cultural protocol liaison, that was everything that the church and the government wanted to do away with. But I'm very fortunate to be working with elders and community to bring all of the teachings that we have and all of the culture. And I would also like to take a moment to acknowledge Phyllis Webstad and why many of us are wearing our orange t-shirts today. And I was very fortunate to meet Phyllis through my very dear friend Kristen Spray, who also had a part in today. Phyllis is my age. She's 53, and she was excited to go to school. She was happy to be going to be with her cousins. She went with her mom to go buy a new shirt, and one of them was a brand new orange shirt. Well, she got to the Indian Residential School, they took it away from her. She didn't ever see it again. So that's how Orange Shirt Day came to be. So I'd like to acknowledge Phyllis and all that she's done and that she continues to do. I thought of her when the Kamloops Indian Residential School discovered the 215. And I think for Canadians, that was the moment where everything became more real. The numbers of bodies that have been discovered are well over 6,000 now. That's as young as they would take their children away at the age of 5 from the community to bring them to Indian Residential School. Sometimes they would get to go home and sometimes not. And he says, well, why didn't the government do anything? Why didn't the police do anything about it? And he left, he was very humbled. And I said, do you know the police, the government, and the churches were all part of that. I have to lift my hands up to all of you and say, Haichka, it means so much to me that many of you are here wanting to listen with open minds and open hearts. And I'm going to encourage many of you, if you have any of your Indigenous friends, just let them know you're thinking of them today. I'm grateful to my nation for taking the time to invest, because it costs money. It costs money to run a language program. We are very fortunate to have one fluent speaker left in our community. Yesterday we had an event at UVic and we honored all of our elders and residents. And being able to, the one teaching that I would like to share with many of you, and when I say that we honored them, we blanketed them. And if you think of a blanket, here's the one teaching that I would like to share with all of you today. You think of the first thing that we do with a baby when they're born is that we take them and we wrap them in a blanket. If you're not feeling well, the first thing you do is you grab a blanket and you wrap yourself up. So for all of those elders that we had on the floor yesterday, we took them and we blanketed them with all of the love and support that we have. We wanted them to know that they're important to us. So if at times when you're out wanting to gift somebody, get them a blanket and let them know how much they mean to you. I also have another story of Cloches, which is Chatham Island and Discovery Island. My elder Joan Morris, South Lamont, grew up there, and her family moved her there so that she wouldn't have to go to any residential school, but eventually she ended up having to go. She's also got other stories around the Nanaimo hospital as well, which is really unfortunate. But her stories amaze me. They would harvest, they would fish, they would gather, and they would paddle from Chatham Island, and they would paddle into the beach, and then they would walk to Chinatown and back, and then they would paddle back. I'm not gonna lie, I'm spoiled because I'm like, I couldn't even imagine doing that walk back then. And she's in her 70s now. So if you think of what Victoria would look like roughly 60 years ago, it was very different than it is today. So she's another elder that I'm thinking of today. I'll make sure that I take time to give her a quick hello. But I'm going to encourage many of you, if you do have Indigenous friends or allies, just connect with them, just say hello and let them know you're thinking of them today.
Well, that was really inspiring. And now people are heading back to Centennial Square for a opening ceremonies and a Orange Shirt Day celebration taking place. Here are some installations of photographs from our past. This is a photograph of a potlatch on the old Songhees Reserve in 1874, hosted by the Songhees Chief James Squamiaks. Visitors from many First Nations gathered in Victoria's inner harbour for this event, and people can be seen on the roofs of the traditional plank houses ready to throw blankets down to the guests. This view looks across the harbour to the Wharf Street area of downtown Victoria. And here is First Nations canoe races on the Gorge Waterway in 1900. Competitors came from many areas of Vancouver Island and Puget Sound in Washington State. And here is members of the Songhees and other local First Nations are shown escorting the Governor General of Canada up the Gorge Waterway in 1927. Their destination is Kosopson Park in Saanich, where they will undertake a First Nations naming ceremony for the Governor General. Wow. And this is a large 1880s European-style longhouse on the old Songhees Reserve, located near Point Hope and owned by Songhees known as Mrs. Pilkey. Some more First Nations canoe races. First Nations canoe races again. This is 1904. That one there is near where we live, where there's there's a waterfall, and it reverses when the tides change. So that's that location. This one is right here at the inner harbor. Some of those buildings you can see are actually still here. Pretty cool. And this one is First Nations paddling a West Coast style canoe in Victoria, late 1890s. Images of potlatches and all 1870s to 1895.
How much is the dry bread? The conditions are the same everywhere. How much? Okay, thank you.
Thank you. I'm Caroline, by the way.
Carolyn, yeah, I was going to ask you.
Hi there. This is the United Nations Declaration on the Rights of Indigenous People. I work with Aboriginal Life in Vancouver Enhancement Society. This shirt is for Children Back. 1879 is the first legislated residential school in so-called Canada. Canada is on Indian land. The United Nations Declaration was passed by the so-called Canadian government, and they're using the distinctions-based approach, which leaves out 80% of all Indigenous people. And what that means is that we want our children back. We want our people back. We want urban Indigenous self-government. We want an all-nations longhouse on Coast Salish territories for all nations to be able to practice their ceremonies and learn their language. We want to be able to advocate for our children. And this is what it's about. This is what it's about. Children back.
Thank you. Awesome. Today, Diane Sam mentioned quite a few times about the Songhees Wellness Center, and it's another location that I'm very curious about. It's a beautiful site that's recently built here in Victoria, and it is on Songhees land, and they built it looking forward to the future. They were trying to make as little of an imprint on the land as possible, so everything was built in a way that was sustainable, and at some point hopefully they'll be able to open their doors again to tours. I would love to bring the class here to check out what they've done, but I thought at least we could come around on foot and I could show you the building and the sites. Diane mentioned that there were story poles, and I think those are up here, so I'm gonna take a little tour up these stairs to the story poles. And there's a beautiful waterfall running over here in the rocks. Creates a nice sound. Beautiful construction of that waterfall. It looks so natural. It's like you're out in the middle of wilderness. But as you can tell, I'm right in the city. Beautiful spot. There's no plaque explaining what this is, but my thought is it kind of looks a bit like a canoe. It's dug out in the middle, it's cut out in the middle. There's a cavity there that you could, people could be in. But it's not regularly shaped, so it almost is more artistic. I don't know. And then up at the front, it turns into I think maybe a raven head. I'm not totally sure. Beautiful structure. I wish there was a plaque to tell me a little bit more about it. Looks like it's been carved out of a single piece of wood or a single tree. I'm wondering if it's an original piece that has cultural significance or if it was done more recently by an artist. And I guess these must be the story poles, so they're shorter than, I guess, the typical totem pole. And the figures that are carved on them are unique. I've never seen one like this one. Almost looks like it has an octopus and a raven coming together. I don't know if you can see that with the light here, but it's quite unique. The sun has decided to come back out. Just a few minutes ago it was pouring rain. And this one's really quite different from the other one. Each one's very unique. This one has a tall structure at the top, a long structure with triangles. wow, even I'm just noticing the ground I'm walking on. A lot of thought has gone into this. The beautiful stonework here. There's this kind of stonework structure. It's like eyes, maybe. And then there's sort of a pebble structure. And each one of them has kind of a neat feel on your feet. You just kind of keep walking it and feeling the different textures under your feet. Feels kind of nice. And the stones themselves are lovely colored stones here. Greens and burgundies and blacks. And then lastly in the center is a larger structure. I see an orca. You can see that, an orca whale. Looks like a couple of orca whales. Oh, I think maybe that's meant to be a salmon actually when I see the fins. Maybe that's meant to be seaweed.